gunshots out of nowhere to the point I'm taking cover in the store.
A former T-Mobile worker relives the drive-by that changed his life.
You go to work to work. You don't go to work to duck bullets.
And remembers a former co-worker gunned down on the job. People searching for answers to end Baltimore's cycle of violence.
It's like you don't know what to do, what not to do. It's just too much.
We make their voices heard. Plus, we're looking at which counties could see a tax hike as budgets are proposed.
And we don't want anyone else to have to go through this.
Then the fight to recover a ceremonial flag for a veteran laid to rest.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kai Jackson. We're learning more about the teens arrested for a deadly shooting at a Canton T-Mobile store on Sunday. 23-year-old Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez was murdered on the job. As a result, police arrested 18-year-old Arthur McCaden, pictured here, and charged him with murder. Shortly after, they announced the arrest of his 14-year-old brother. Police say the pair committed an armed robbery in New Jersey hours earlier. Now, new documents show their father was found guilty himself of murder in a 2021 shooting in Baltimore.
It's like they're getting younger and younger doing these crimes.
And this shooting brings back traumatic memories for many as the juvenile crime crisis continues. We have team coverage tonight, beginning with Fox 45's Keith Daniels. Keith talks with a former co-worker of the victim who's familiar with the violence. Keith?
Well, Kai, we're live outside of the T-Mobile store where Gonzalez was killed. All quiet here at this hour, but tonight, that deadly shooting reigniting alarming moments for one man.
That night, it changed my life forever.
For Jesse Barr, this week, it all came rushing back. Those tense, frightening moments on the job.
Bullets are coming through the window. You hear the bullets hitting the things. The glass is breaking. Wait.
A former store manager at a T-Mobile location in Northeast Baltimore. Barr had just sent his employee home, was closing the store, when suddenly,
out of nowhere, just a loud boom, 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 like gunshots out of nowhere to the point I'm taking cover in the store.
Look at these photos. Bullets shattered a store window. 2 other bullets pierced another window. And a bullet hit Barr's car that was parked out front. The shooting happened on Greenmount Avenue near East 33rd Street. That T-Mobile location now moved to Mondawmin Mall. Barr's ordeal 2 years ago in June. But he's reminded of the situation after the recent deadly shooting of T-Mobile employee Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez, killed Sunday during an armed robbery at the store in Canton. Barr says no one was hurt during his incident, but it was a close call.
If I would have left out the store 5 minutes earlier, I would have literally been a victim. I would have got caught with maybe a bullet, because they was obviously straight bullets.
No injuries, but it was enough for Barr to bolt the company. He asked to be transferred to a new location, but ultimately decided to leave the business. The gun violence, too much.
We all grew up in Baltimore, so we get it. You know, it happens in your neighborhood, but not at work. So at work, it traumatized, it puzzled me. I had to leave. I just no longer felt safe.
Now, word of Fabian's murder. At one time, Barr's former co-worker, shot and killed on the job.
It could have been my story. My family could have been doing exactly what's happening for Fabian today.
Well, Barr was here at this T-Mobile location last night. He was among dozens of people who gathered here for a candlelight vigil for Gonzalez. Well, live in Canton now, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, powerful story. Thank you. Sources tell Fox 45 News McCaden was under supervision from the Department of Juvenile Services. Now, that agency has been facing scrutiny as more teens find themselves involved in crime. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost presses lawmakers for solutions.
18-year-old Arthur McCaden and his 14-year-old brother arrested in connection to the death of Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez during what police describe was a robbery gone bad. The latest example of questions surrounding a department tasked with rehabilitating the state's youngest offenders. The Department of Juvenile Services already facing a blistering report from the Attorney General's office. Increasing daily populations, lack of educational opportunities, substandard safety, staffing plans, and inadequate programming. In Annapolis, Democratic lawmakers often bristling at implementing tougher penalties for kids committing crimes, even violent ones like murder or assault. The same lawmakers calling for more wraparound services to be provided, but those services being offered now, this report shows, are inadequate. With a young life cut short and another accused of ending it, we sent a few questions to Baltimore's delegation in Annapolis asking, do you believe DJS is doing enough to help rehabilitate young people who have gotten involved in a life of crime? Has the latest violent incident involving a young person changed your view on the juvenile crime trend and how young offenders should be handled? Delegate Luke Clippinger, chair of the House Judiciary Committee, not moving on a bill allowing kids 13 years old and younger to face charges. So we also asked the delegation, was it a mistake for lawmakers not to implement tougher penalties for young people who have committed violent crimes during the last legislative session? Instead, Clippinger says he wants a top-to-bottom review of DJS, pointing to Secretary Vincent Schiraldi as the person responsible for changing the culture inside the department.
I believe that the secretary will get into the guts of rebuilding this agency. That doesn't need legislation, that needs leadership.
At the state level,
it's a very complex situation that we're not going to be able to solve overnight.
Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller says the Moore administration is taking the concern seriously, though Governor Moore admitting he fell short on tackling public safety more aggressively during his first session.
I'm not waiting for the next legislative session in order to get the work done that needs to be done.
Back in Baltimore, 10 people under 18 have been killed this year alone. 32 others have been shot. Fox 45 News trying to ask the Mayor Brandon Scott questions about the juvenile violence and what more he wants to see done at the state level during a community event at Coppin State. The mayor leaving the event early, his car driving away before we could ask any questions. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Fox 45 News received a lengthy response from Delegate Marlon Ampray, who says former Governor Larry Hogan failed to properly fund and staff the state correction system. Ampray says that's put communities at risk, and he also says the issues with DJS are a result of Governor Hogan's mishandling of the system. Again, his words. You can read Delegate Ampray's entire statement on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Well, the suspect's alleged crime spree raises concerns about crime across Maryland and, in fact, the East Coast. Vincent Hill will have that story coming up at 10:30. Earlier, former congressional candidate Yuripsy Morgan and Reverend Al Hathaway of Baltimore joined us on Fox 45 News.
I think it's completely unacceptable that we continue to see this level of violence, and the ages just continue to get younger and younger. And meanwhile, you know, the Mayor Brandon Scott has been talking about the violence reduction. Of course, we know that is compared to last year, not compared to previous years, 2020, 2021. So it's really important to put those numbers in perspective.
It is tragic that you have an 18-year-old now charged as an adult, and I think properly so. But you also have now a 14-year-old who's now being introduced to the criminal justice system without the real supports necessary to direct them in a proper direction.
And that brings us to our question of the day. Did lawmakers do enough to address public safety this legislative session? So far, 95% of people who voted say no. You can vote right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. Many in Baltimore argue parents and family members should play a bigger role in limiting juvenile crime. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates shared his thoughts at a recent Fox 45 town hall.
I'm a parent of a 6-year-old. I understand how difficult and how energetic they are. I get it. My number one priority is my child. But also parents, at 1 o'clock in the morning, you have a 12 or 13-year-old, you got to know they're in your house. And so we got to hold parents accountable as well. So we can't always look to only the elected officials. We got to look toward everybody.
Well, our team coverage continues tonight with Fox 45's Jeff Abel, who asked, what will it take to stop the youth violence? And Jeff, you spoke with a mother who lost her own child.
Indeed, you know, you don't have to go far to find those impacted by violence, but you just may have to go the distance if you're searching for solutions. In the heart of Waverly, where the problems are wide.
It's like they're getting younger and younger doing these crimes.
And the pain is deep.
My son is gone.
We moved into 33rd Street today, where we planted our soapbox and went in search of solutions. How do we fix it?
I don't know.
You'll be hard-pressed to find anyone here who hasn't felt the sting of juvenile lawbreakers.
He was getting robbed, and then they took him.
This woman lost her own son 2 years ago and has watched the juvenile crime rate soar ever since.
It's like you don't know what to do, what not to do. It's just too much.
Well, you're going to run into folk who are going to be talking about mass incarceration. Well, we got mass criminalization now.
Reverend P.M. Smith blames broken homes for much of the growing crime problem, which he insists is not beyond repair. Though many parents are overburdened, Smith insists they're failing their children by not finding others who can help.
Love, real love, is sacrificial. How much time are you giving your young ones? Do you have time? Just get them here. You don't have to stay. Just give them to me.
They always say everything starts in the home, which it does. But what does a home look like? You know, you never know what's going on in their home.
It's so tight and so hard out here. It's like they really have to take on extra jobs to do.
The city's not going to get better till you deal with it.
In Waverly, many residents seem convinced there's little they can do.
What do? Pray. That's what I do. I pray and ask God to help our planet. It's overwhelming.
The pain they fear will only grow. Well, Smith says parents must first recognize that their kids may need more guidance and that there are plenty of others out there willing to help. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. Counties under pressure tonight. A shocking scene at the Parole Town Center where 3 people are dead, including a gunman who police say died by suicide. A man and woman were found shot to death by the Holiday Inn Express. A third person was found dead nearby. Police tell Fox 45 they believe this is a domestic incident and that there is no immediate threat to the community. In Baltimore County, police confirm a woman is the victim of a deadly shooting after being called to the side of Maryland 702 in Essex. Video posted to Citizen app shows the backups on the Southeast Freeway and first responders on the scene. Police didn't share any suspect information at this time. We will have any updates for you with new information. Be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Download the free Fox 45 app and get push notifications from our newsroom to your device. Search WBFF in your app store.
It was a gorgeous day, and overnight we are looking at temperatures on the mild side. We'll go from the 50s to the upper 40s, keeping us pretty mild. Then we quickly rise to the 60s as we head into the afternoon. And after that, we return to the 70s. We'll be in the 70s again on Sunday, but that's going to be when you can expect the next weather maker and the chance for rain. Coming up, I'll have a look at the timing of the rain and impacts to your plans in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, the family of a veteran fighting for 2 years to get the flag that covered his casket. What happened to it and why they're not satisfied with what's been offered. Budget battles over public school funding across the region, where taxes could soon go up as another county hopes to avoid that drastic measure to meet mandated funding. And coming up at 10:30 tonight on Fox 45, Baltimore's own star boxer Gervonta Tank Davis avoids jail time after pleading guilty in a hit and run that injured several people. The sentence coming up.
Education is a right. That's why we have to fight.
Pushback on Harford County's proposed budget. Opponents say it's a slap in the face of educators. And now Harford County Executive Bob Castley says each household could see a $500 tax increase if the county fully funds every request. Fox 45's Amy Simpson explains.
The budget battle continues in Harford County, with the county executive and district superintendent making their positions heard.
So we really had to take a very conservative and fiscally responsible approach.
This county is failing to fund education at the level that it needs to.
This year, County Executive Bob Casserly proposing nearly $305 million for Harford County Public Schools, which is $19 million less than the district received last year and nearly $40 million less than the district requested.
I urge you to send Mr. Casserly and his team back to the drawing board to produce a budget that actually meets the needs of this county.
I think things are going to be funded that need to be funded.
This is not enough.
This protest unfolding in Bel Air last night, ahead of a public hearing on the budget proposal.
Education is a right.
Parents, students, and teachers demanding more money for schools.
I'm afraid that we're going to have to do the worst thing possible, which is lay people off.
County Executive Bob Casserly has said his 2024 budget proposal included no tax increases. Casserly sending out this message in recent days, which reads, no to higher taxes, no to overspending. Now Casserly putting a dollar figure on these recent demands, calling the rise in education funding unsustainable, along with a request for more money from the sheriff's office. The county executive said, in part, if I fund the additional $40 million requested by the Board of Education and the sheriff's request for $28 million, I will need to raise taxes by $500 per household. Government, like the taxpayers, must live within our means. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Anne Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman says his new budget proposal would raise taxes. In a letter to his constituents, Pittman says that the tax aspect of his proposal, his words, kind of sucks, but also says some education aspects to the budget are morally the right thing to do. Pittman mentions filling 200 teacher vacancies and increasing pay, as well as hiring more police officers and firefighters.
Will you be my angel, swing low over me tonight.
Powerful moments today at Delaney Valley Memorial Gardens in Baltimore County, paying tribute to the fallen first responders across Maryland this year. It's the 38th annual event as state leaders remember 11 first responders who lost their lives.
Today, we remember those who gave all. The men and women who understood the danger. The men and women who understood the risk. Who understood the peril, and they raised their hand and they went anyway.
On this day dedicated to those who made the ultimate sacrifice, one Air Force veterans family is feeling mixed emotions over their final goodbye. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has their story from Crownsville.
In honor of the Fallen Heroes Day, the flags at Crownsville Veterans Cemetery flying at half staff. But for the Blackstone family, the whereabouts of the flag honoring their fallen hero remains unknown. Laid to rest alongside his fellow service members, the family of Air Force veteran Alfred Blackstone, not at peace with their final farewell.
I was very upset about losing the flag. Not even really losing it, getting it taken away. It was very traumatic.
At the funeral, Alfred's grandson Tyler, whose close bond with his grandfather inspired a mission to give back to other veterans.
I felt that what they were doing is important.
Was the chosen recipient of Alfred's ceremonial American flag.
I really wanted to be able to say, well, this is my token.
Instead, that token was taken at the end of the ceremony when Tyler's mom, Andrea, was informed the flag presented was essentially a prop.
When they took it away, it was really emotional. Like, what? This was not supposed to happen. I was nearly in tears.
They claim Crownsville Veterans Cemetery told them missing paperwork may have been to blame, further confusing the Blackstones.
No one could really explain to me protocol if something isn't filled out, so I'm still not clear what people do if something falls to the cracks. If I would have known, I could have brought a flag with us.
2 years later, the loss of both their loved one and the flag still weighing heavy on their hearts.
You can't blame people for something they weren't aware of. But once people become aware, then the question is, well, what might you do about a situation?
In search of a solution, the cemetery, Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs, and Delegate Dana Jones were contacted. Andrea says Jones was the only one to respond immediately, offering to mail a flag to the family.
I didn't feel comfortable with that because of the circumstances. It was taken from Tyler, and he was holding it. It was presented to him. So why should it be so impersonal that this would be sent in the mail?
I'd like at least maybe something where somebody folds it or something, because it's way more significant.
And not only did the Blackstones feel a more thoughtful response is needed to close the chapter on what should have been a cherished symbol of their loved one's years of service.
His grandfather and my father, he deserves better than that.
They hope in sharing their story, no other fallen hero's family will endure the same pain.
A big part of this is how to prevent this from happening to other families potentially. We're very concerned about that because we've experienced heartache around this issue, and we don't want anyone else to have to go through this. So to me, it should be very clear what the protocol is.
And now I'm so happy to be able to report a positive update on those very protocols. Today, I personally reached out to the Maryland Department of Veterans Affairs, and once they were made aware of this incident, take a listen to what their response was. They said, quote, "The Department of Veterans Affairs extends its sincere apologies," going on to write, "It was unacceptable the family was not allowed to keep the presented American flag. The policy that led to these circumstances has been changed effective immediately to ensure our cemeteries have flags available and loved ones can take the flags home with them." Now, on top of that, they're also working to schedule a ceremony where Tyler can be presented with a new flag in person. In Crownsville, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
It was a great start to the weekend, and tomorrow looks even better with warmer temperatures and even more sunshine. But unfortunately, as the weekend comes to an end on Sunday, we have our next chance for showers and possibly a few storms. That's followed by more rain on Monday. I'll break down the timing of the rain and when we finally dry out, coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Taking a look right now at the Fox Quad box. On the top left, several injuries are reported in an industrial plant fire in Texas. That fire at Shell's Deer Park facility also caused air quality concerns. So far, the smoke is blowing away from populated areas. On the top right, school districts nationwide are turning to artificial intelligence to prevent shootings, including here in Maryland. While that software has sparked some debate, two companies claim the technology can detect guns within seconds and that it actually costs less than metal detectors. On the bottom left, one of the 4 survivors of the Atlanta hospital shooting rampage is out of the hospital. Another has been transferred out of the ICU, but 2 remain under intensive care. Doctors suspect all to pull through. And on the bottom right, a strange discovery in New Jersey as police find nearly 500 pounds of cooked pasta dumped into the woods. Neighbors say they know who did it. They're just not sure why. Ahead at 10:30 tonight, the 2 teens arrested in connection to the Canton T-Mobile store shooting are accused in a crime spree earlier in the day. How far it stretched across state lines. And a big breakthrough in the COVID pandemic. Why the World Health Organization is downgrading the severity.
This is one of Baltimore's best kept secrets. This has been around as long as my grandparents.
And a thriving Baltimore market can be found if you know where to look. How a-rabbers are leaving their mark across the city in tonight's Maryland Moment. We're following 3 big stories at 10:30 tonight. Efforts to avoid another train derailment disaster like what we saw in Ohio. Why rail workers are warning it'll keep happening. A thriving Baltimore market changes the way it serves the city. How a-rabbers are giving young people an outlet from the city's issues. And new details on the background of an 18-year-old and his younger brother accused of shooting and killing a T-Mobile worker in Canton. We begin there. Fox 45's Vincent Hill joins us live right now with a closer look at the charging documents and how they reveal crime could be spreading to other areas. Vincent?
Yeah, Kai, in these charging documents, it details a crime spree over several states leading to a house right here in Baltimore. Tears of joy for the family of Fabian Sanchez Gonzalez, killed at a Canton T-Mobile store last Sunday.
We're glad. I'm glad to hear that there is a suspect and there's been an arrest made, because that's what we want. We want justice.
Police say 18-year-old Arthur McCaden and his 14-year-old brother are responsible for that brazen crime.
2500 Boston, T-Mobile, mail shot inside of location. Somebody calling on a T-Mobile phone.
According to charging documents, Baltimore City Police were tipped off to McCaden's identity by Baltimore County robbery detective. Although Baltimore County Police have not said if McCaden is suspected of crimes there, given the investigation stretches to New Jersey, it brings into question if Baltimore crime is spreading to other areas.
Do you think that some of the crime you've seen, do you think that's a result of crime spilling over from the city into the county?
Baltimore County Police Chief Robert McCullough sitting down with FOX45, not answering that question directly.
I think crime knows no boundaries. Crime is everywhere.
But the residents of Baltimore County say otherwise.
Feels like that. That crowd is moving all the way to the north. Looks like that from city to county. A little more shaky, a little more scary. It's not good.
The brothers' alleged crime spree reaching 110 miles away. These surveillance images capture what police say is McCaden and his brother robbing a Best Buy at gunpoint in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, hours before police say the lone and deadly shot was fired at Fabian Gonzalez.
I know he probably touched many hearts here, one way or another.
Now, although McCaden was armed during that robbery in New Jersey, there's no indication anyone was armed. Meanwhile, investigators are working to see just how far this crime spree of those two brothers actually spread. For now, we're live at Baltimore Police Headquarters. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. We have breaking news to report out of Northeast Baltimore, where a police SUV and civilian vehicle were apparently involved in a crash on Argonne Drive near Morgan State University. Now, a really big wreck right now. Our cameras are able to see what appears to be airbags deployed in the police vehicle and significant damage to the smaller car. Right now, we have no word on injuries or who could be at fault in the crash. We'll keep you updated. And more gun violence today in the city. There was a shooting on Ells Road Avenue. That's near Northern Parkway. Police say a 29-year-old man is in critical condition. It's near the Baltimore County line. Police are looking for tips in the shooting. So far, there's no suspect information. Baltimore boxer Gervonta Tank Davis will not receive jail time for his involvement in a crash that injured 4 people in 2020. Davis was sentenced to 90 days house arrest and 3 years probation. According to the police report, Davis ran a red light along MLK Boulevard and hit another car before fleeing. And new tonight, the Maryland Attorney General's office is filing a lawsuit against the owners of the tower on Baltimore's TV Hill. That lawsuit comes after Woodbury residents complained about flakes of red paint falling off the tower and into their neighborhoods last summer. And Fox 45 News took pictures and did see that paint. It was even in our own parking lot. The paint was later tested and found to contain lead. The lawsuit claims a company scraped the paint off the tower last year, knowing it contained lead. The lawsuit claims the company didn't take proper precautions. Baltimore's entire metro system is shut down through 5 a.m. on Monday. There will be no subway service as the system undergoes maintenance work. The change made for an updated computer system that officials say will allow for a safer and more reliable transit system in the city. There will be a bus bridge between subway stations during the closure period. Baltimore County Police are holding another steering wheel lock giveaway for Hyundai and Kia owners. That's tomorrow at 10:30 in Towson. This comes as Hyundais and Kias are susceptible to theft by using a USB cord. Maryland AG Anthony Brown is calling on Hyundai and Kia to recall their cars, joining more than a dozen other attorneys general with similar requests. Since the 1940s, the Baltimore a-rabbers have been a staple in the city, selling fresh fruits and vegetables across neighborhoods. These days, they're still around, but there are fewer of them. In tonight's Maryland Moment, Baltimore's young people and a-rabbers are finding meaning and purpose by working together. On a pleasant April day, a cart filled with produce pulled by a horse makes its way through this West Baltimore neighborhood. This man is an a-rabber. It's a term and tradition that historians say started around the mid-1940s in Baltimore.
Like the ice cream man, people love fruit. Keep healthy.
Mostly men, sometimes women, lead a horse pulling a cart. There's something special about seeing this hawker and horse make their way through 21st century asphalt streets.
Everything I think is just a song. They know what I'm talking about.
Yes, Mom. It's a bounty of fruits and vegetables that in this moment look bigger, brighter, tastier than what you'd find in a supermarket.
This is one of Baltimore's best kept secrets. This has been around as long as my grandparents.
These days, a-rabbers are doing much more than selling produce. Meet Sinai.
Well, I got involved with this program one day coming up here to get hay for my rabbit.
This is Darius.
I feel like I can just come here and relax.
And this is Antonio.
We wash them sometimes, but that's when they that's when they dirty and need to be washed.
3 teens who live in West Baltimore. They're part of a 2-week program at the A-Rabber Preservation Society. They're here to learn more about the profession and themselves.
They basically saw how I was attracted to all the animals and how I was going up to them and touching them and rubbing them. And they asked me that I want to join or be in this program because I loved animals.
They will learn about farrieing, which is helping change horses' shoes, which is a fantastic career. They'll learn about cleaning horse stalls. All of these different things are full-time jobs.
Those who run the program say as the teens learn, they grow.
I was kind of very nervous and anxious about it and a little scared.
Today we cleaned stalls, fed the horses hay, gave them some water. So pretty much, yeah, that was pretty much it.
We don't need you to move, just lift it up.
In a city where young people are dying from violence, the program is providing teens with crucial mental health services.
Okay, there we go. She worked through that scene.
One of the things that's been really helpful is letting kids know that mental health is available because they live in Baltimore City and there's trauma taking place every day.
I walk up to you and say, hey, how you doing, how your day? But I wouldn't normally do that before I came in here. I wouldn't even talk to you normally.
The A-Rabbers today are a much smaller group than they used to be. A 20th century craft is slowly fading in a digital world. Those still here who tend to horses and sell fruit are happy to teach their trade to a new generation.
And that's what I do with them. Like, I sit them down and I try to coach them and also teach them about this.
And maybe a Baltimore tradition has found a new mission. Still selling fruits and vegetables from a cart, but now mentoring and mending young wounded souls.
Come on, even though I really don't personally like people, it helped me a lot because I actually could go up to them and talk to them about it. And they would teach me step by step to know next time when I do this, how to do it properly.
I was a kid, A-Rab, and I learned how to do one thing. I worked with the older guy, and they taught me how to make it without problem.
You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child, so I'm letting them know, like, the village is still here.